Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the end of the video? There's another paid request from Mr. Leeman. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both of those are down below under the info box under each of my videos. It could be for pretty much anything if you want to. And this is for an episode of Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 2's Who Mourns for Adonis. Now, it's been a while since I've seen this one. And real quickly with Star Trek, when I think of Star Trek, I think of the original series and the first 6 movies. I'm not really into a whole lot afterward. I didn't mind some episodes of The Next Generation. I liked First Contact, the movie. But my big preference, again, is the first 6 movies. I liked all 6 of them. And I liked a lot of the 3 seasons of the original show. Maybe not every single episode, but I liked a good chunk. I even didn't mind that cartoon that was done that had the voices of the cast in it. Now, this episode I liked because of the characters, because of the way they interact with each other. Whether it be William Shatner's Kirk interacted with Scotty and the way they interact with Bones, DeForest Kelly, things of that nature. I think for me, the episode suffers a little bit for me because of the stuff around it I like much more. Like the first episode is a mock time, which is the one where Spock pretty much goes to the heat. I mean, I don't know how else you want to put it, but the Pon farr, you have that famous fight between him and Kirk. Da 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 da. That's such a classic episode. You have the Doomsday Machine, this planet-killing monstrosity, which is a pretty interesting idea. You got the Changeling, which I liked, was a Nomak. It was the robot that if something wasn't perfect, he would obliterate and kill it. I liked the way Kirk tricked it and took it out at the end. I do quite enjoy that episode. It's also the same season. You had the Trouble with Tribbles, which is a very funny episode. There's a lot of standout episodes for me in this season. But I said this I don't mind. The effects of the time hamper it. I could see, but they were, again, of their time in the 60s. But because of the characters, and at times some of the stories, they're able to overcome some of the chintzy effects. Here you have a new character that I think only lasted this one episode, Lieutenant Carolyn, who was hit on by Scotty. I miss James Doohan. James Doohan seemed like a very nice guy. And like I say, I liked the characters. That's what I liked about this show and the first 6 movies. I really enjoy the characters. I love William Shatner and DeForest Kelly and Leonard Nimoy. And it's sad when you watch this, so many of them are gone. I mean, Nichelle, Uhura, Leonard Nimoy, James Doohan, DeForest Kelly. Just sad. But like when Kirk is talking to, Kirk and Bones, DeForest Kelly, are talking about Scotty, and Dr. McCoy's like, man, even from here I can tell his pulse rate is up. You don't talk about that? You don't mention it? Kurt's like, what's the big deal? I mean, if the worst that happened, maybe I'd lose an officer. And they listen to Scotty leaving, and he's like, I'm losing an officer. I'm doing a much worse job. Like, they do a much better job than I am. Just, again, the way it feels like they are friends. Now, right on set, they might not have been. I think people respected DeForest Kelly. But I know, like, William Shatner did not get along with the cast and other stuff, so You also have Chekhov coming in, because Chekhov I don't think was part of the first season. I think he only came in the second season. So now you got Chekhov, played by Walter Koenig, the Pavel Chekhov, the Russian. So it's nice to see him in it. I like Walter Koenig. Loved him in this film called Moontrap he did with Bruce Campbell. Underrated film. But I was talking about the effects and the... I mean, they're by a planet and a giant green hand comes up. And they don't... Is that a hand? It's a giant hand and like follows him like this on the view screen. And no matter how you do it, it's going to look goofy. Because it's someone's hand in green. So, I mean, they did what they could. And it's a field of energy it's supposed to be. But it does look laughable, to be fair. It does. But again, with the 60s, I would prefer there was something other than a green hand. If it was just, even if it was just a mass of green, looking like mist, looking like fog, looking like anything else, that would have been more appropriate. At least to me. That still looks goofy. But it grabs the Enterprise. They're told, some of you have to beam down and talk to me or I'm going to crush the ship. They do it. And this god mentions he is Apollo, from the Greek god. And Kirk kind of surmises that maybe this and the other aliens that are no longer here, maybe they visited Earth long ago. And those people, they would take these aliens to be gods. And pretty much what this god wants is, you will worship me. And pretty much they have to figure out what to do. Spock and them are kind of trapped on the ship, trying to figure out these calculations. So it shows that Spock can handle being the leader on the ship. Meanwhile, on the planet, you got McCoy, Scotty, Chekhov, Kirk, and this Lieutenant Carolyn, who's there to fall in love with Apollo and vice versa. Like I said, what makes it work is just enjoying being with these characters. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's not so much the Apollo story. I couldn't really give a rat's ass about Apollo. In fact, I'd probably say if you deal with a god, I'd probably say I like Star Trek V, the movie, more than this, when it deals with gods. That's just my opinion. But I like the character moments. Like when the god goes, I'm Apollo, and then Chekhov goes, yes, I am the Tsar of all Russians. And like Kurt's telling him to shut up. I thought that was kind of a funny line. Showing Kurt being a badass, you will worship me. And Kurt going, you're no god to us, mister. And he's badass. He's willing to go up against a god and not give a fuck. That's why I liked Kirk the best of all the captains. His gunno attitude, ready to fucking fight and fisticuff and tell a god to go fuck himself. You can't say the F word, of course, but if he could, he probably would. And also showing that there is a level of command. Like when Scotty keeps blowing his top, like Kirk has to yell at him and order him, stop, you don't listen to me, you don't follow orders, you don't act like an officer. And then he calms down and he's like, besides, you stiff-necked thistlehead, you could have gotten yourself killed. So it's like he's an officer, he's the boss, but he cares for his crew. Shit that they don't understand in the new Star Trek. Either anybody can do whatever the fuck they want. Doesn't depend if their captains say no. Apparently, this was still like a military type of thing. You have a commander, then you have the people underneath, and they take command and follow orders. That's how it's run. They forget all that in new Star Trek. They don't give a rat's ass about that. They fucking shove it into a garbage bin and throw it in the fire pit. I also like Kurt's speech when he's talking to Lieutenant Carolyn about, you see this human flesh against human flesh, and the only thing truly yours is the rest of humanity. I try to get her to realize that this guy is trying to bone you in your head and trying to fuck with your head, and he don't mean what he says, and if he does think he means what he says, it ain't gonna matter because this don't make us into slaves. And what, do you want all of us to be slaves and stuck here, or what the deal is? Get your head out of your ass, pretty much. And spoiler alert, they know that if they piss off the god, that he can expend a lot of energy and it'll be weaken him. And Kurt's pretty much telling the lieutenant, you have to dump him. You have to say no. You can't do it. So he'll get pissed. And then Spock is able to get the phasers of the Enterprise in this energy source and fuck up Apollo's power. And he's like, why? And as Kurt says, we outgrew you. You asked for something we could not give. And just, the music is very well done. I think the music on the Star Trek show fitted like a glove. I mean, I'm not talking about just the opening theme, but the rest of the music, it's an underrated asset that I don't know if enough people talk about when they talk about this show, is the musical score. The musical score, again, not just the opening theme, but the rest of it just fits so well. It fits with the excitement, or if it's scary, or if it's... For example, what was the Galileo 7, I remember, where Spock and McCoy and a few others go down onto this planet. One of those few episodes that you don't have Kirk in it, and you have these really scary-looking monsters throwing spears and will impale people in the chest. Seemed pretty damn violent for the time. I remember, like, oh shit, seeing that back in the day. And also, if I'm thinking about gods or people that have the powers that are like gods, I'd probably say I like... was the Squire of Gothos? The one with, was it Trelane? Trelane? Because I thought that actor did a really good job. I always think of the bit where Kirk just slaps the shit out of him. Because he's like a glorified little kid. I think that's what it's called. It's been so long since I've seen these episodes. I will say this was great to revisit. And I do like it. It might not be a favorite of mine, or a favorite of the season, but I do like it. It still brought some smiles. Like revisiting old friends, if that makes sense. It was still revisiting old friends. You know, you get to see Kurt's leadership and tenacity, McCoy's sense of humor, some nice bits with Scotty and Chekhov. Not a whole lot of Spock. I mean, the bits with the Enterprise, it's just pretty much a bit of busy work that they need to do. Maybe the one bit I liked is that when Apollo said, I don't want that one to come to the planet, and Kurt's like, you feel insulted? Well, I mean, pretty much about how being insulted is not his... in his vocabulary, so to speak. He doesn't say it that way, but the way he said it, I thought was pretty funny. Like I said, revisiting old friends. I remember seeing this stuff. Had a couple VHS tapes of the episodes, a couple, but mostly I think it was taped on a VCR tape. But I never got to see all the episodes back in the day. It was only a select few. Again, the Galileo 7 sticks out to me, and I want to say the Squire of Gothos, the one... God, I can't remember what they're called now. I'm bad with titles of episodes. But yeah, it was nice to revisit this again. So... it's also sad with how Star Trek is nowadays. Just, they don't know how to write characters. They don't know that there's a structure, there's an order. They think just chaos reigns, and it doesn't. They take something special, they don't make it special anymore. That's a lot of properties today. Go figure. I have the old DVD sets. I do not have the Blu-rays of them. I like to get it one day. Maybe one day down the road. Yeah, they're up there, so I can't get them right now, but they're old DVDs. The ones like there's a yellow, there's a red, and there's a blue for each season. Didn't have the changed special effects. I know that they changed the special effects or update them in certain bits. I don't care for that. Because at the same time, despite what I was saying, at least there's a charm, and if you try to just add stupid CGI effects, it'd be just the Star Wars Special Editions. It'd just be out of place. And actually, some of the other effects I do enjoy its old aesthetic. It's just the hand, just like that one with Abraham Lincoln. Sometimes it's a bit too much, but there's others and other episodes that I do enjoy with a charm to it. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.